Good morning, folks. The sun is out. It's going to be a warm day, and we're going on another adventure on the Cherry Carter channel. This is a special one I've been thinking about for a while, but we're going back to Beaufort to look into the life of Major George Albert Eddy, killed in the Battle of Rensburg, Pink Hills, 1900. We're over. Switch over quickly. Yeah, one of my favourite characters of the Boer War, the most senior Victorian killed over there. Once again, to repeat myself, we went to Hobkirks farm last year, Tony and I. We saw the Pink Hills where the good Major was killed. Went to his grave in Colesberg, or did I? Because we're meeting Colin this morning over in Beaufort. He's a local historian. He's going to take us to a few places associated with Eddy. Eddy was a school teacher over there, and Colin wants to know if the bones of Eddy are actually in that grave in Colesberg. So we'll be talking about that. It's about nearly 2-hour drive from here, I guess. And just before we get to Beaufort, I'll be reading the Boer account of the death of Major Eddy, because I've done it before, but it's kind of fun reading things in an Afrikaans accent. So, and also you'll get to see a bit of the scenery as we approach Beaufort, which is an old gold mining town. It was under threat a year or two back. There were fires all around Beaufort. We had a bad fire season. But anywho, yeah, we're off to Beaufort to have a nice day with Colin. But some of the things we'll be seeing in the Masonic Lodge where Eddy was a member, the school where Eddy taught, and where Eddy's parents are buried in the cemetery. And Colin might have one or two other surprises for us, so look forward to that. Spoken to Colin a fair bit over the phone, but never met him, so alright. I'll get myself settled, get some good music on, get into the driving mode, and I'll turn you back on just when we're outside Beaufort so you can hear the Boer account of the death of Major Eddy. Kyneton Guardian, 24th of May 1900. A Boer has described to one of our correspondents the magnificent courage displayed by the Australians when they attempted to rescue the Worcesters who'd fallen into a Boer trap. The fight took place near Colesberg during the struggle around the town. What do you fellows think of Australians as fighters? I asked the question carelessly, but the answer that I got brought me to my bearings quickly, for then I learnt that more than one gallant Australian officer dear to me had fallen, never to rise again, since I had been taken prisoner. The man who spoke was little more than a lad, a pale-faced, slenderly built son of the veldt. He had tangled curly hair and big pathetic eyes, soft as a girl's, and limbs that lacked the rugged strength of the old Boer stock. But there was that nameless something, that indefinable expression in his face which warranted him a brave man. He carried one arm in a sling, and the bandage round his neck hid a bullet wound. "Australians can fight," he said simply. "They wounded me and they killed my father." Perhaps it was the wind sighing through the hospital trees that made the Boer lad's voice grow strangely husky. Possible the same cause filled the blue eyes with unshed tears. "It was in a fair fight, lad," I said gently. "It was the fortune of war." "Oh, yeah," he murmured. "It was a fair fight, an awful fight. I hope I shall never look upon another like it." "Tell me, comrade, of the Australians who fell. They were my countrymen." "It was a cruel fight," said the young man. "We ambushed a lot of the British troops, the Worcesters, I think they called them. They could neither advance nor retire. We had them penned in like sheep, and our field cornet, Van Leyden, was beseeching them to throw down their rifles to save being slaughtered, for they had no chance. Just then we saw about 100 Australians come bounding over the rocks in the gully behind us. There were two great big men in front cheering them on. We turned and gave them a volley, but it did not stop them. They rushed over everything, fighting as they came, not wildly, but as men who know the use of a rifle, with quick, sharp, upward jerk to the shoulder, the rapid sight, and then the shot. They knocked over a lot of our men, but we had a splendid position. They had to expose themselves to get to us, and we shot them as they came at us. They were rushing to the rescue of the English. It was splendid, but it was madness. On they came, and we lay behind the boulders, and our rifles snapping and snapping again at pistol range. But we did not stop those wild men until they charged right into the little basin, which was fringed around all its edges by rocks covered with bushes. Our men lay there as thick as locusts, and the Australians were fairly trapped. They were far worse off than the Worcesters, up high in the ravine. Our field cornet gave the order to cease fighting and called on them to throw down their rifles or die. Then one of the big officers, a great rough-looking man with a voice like a bull, roared out, "Forward Australia, no surrender." Those were the last words he ever uttered, for a man on my right put a bullet clean between the eyes, and he fell forward dead. We found later that his name was Major Eddy of the Victorian Rifles. He was as brave as a lion, but a Mauser bullet will stop the bravest. His men dashed at the rocks like wolves. It was awful to see them. They smashed at our heads with clubbed rifles or thrust their rifles up against us through the rocks and fired. One after another, their leaders fell. The second big man went down early, but he was not killed. He was shot through the groin, but not dangerously. His name was Captain McGurney. There was another one, a little man named Lieutenant Roberts. He was shot through the heart. Some of the others I forget. The men would not throw down their rifles. They fought like furies. One man I saw climb right onto the rocky ledge where big Jan Albrecht was stationed. Just as he got there, a bullet took him, and he staggered and dropped his rifle. Big Jan jumped forward to catch him before he toppled over the ledge, but the Australian struck Jan in the mouth with a clenched fist and fell over into the ravine below and was killed. We killed and wounded an awful lot of them, but some got away. They fought their way out. I saw a long row of their dead and wounded laid out on a slope of a farmhouse that evening. They were all young men, fine big fellows. I could have cried to look at them, laying so cold and still. They had been so brave in the morning, so strong, but in the evening, a few little hours, they were dead, and we had not hated them, nor they us. Yes, I could have cried as I thought of the women who would wait for them in Australia. Yes, I could have shed a tear, though they had wounded me, but then I thought of my father and of the mother and little Jacob on the farm, who could feel sorry for those, the wives and children of the dead men, no longer. So it was here. Walked in on a Saturday. Must be nearly 2 years ago, I suppose. And I came looking for Eddy's plaque. And the ladies weren't here. Actually, Colin might be here now. I get my bag. That might be his ute. Because I think the door is open on the Historical Society. They're only open one day of month, I think. But Colin said he got the keys for the... He's got the keys, so I'll meet him. I can't remember. Was it from here I went down to Camperdown? Maybe it was. Because I got here and they weren't actually here. The ladies didn't get here until after midday. So I think I ducked across to Camperdown. Of course, they're all episodes that you could find if you were so inclined. How are you, Colin?
Thanks, yourself.
Good, thank you. Nice to meet you finally.
Yeah, finally, yes.
Yeah.
What's the time? I'm pretty well right on time.
Oh, bang on time. That's me. I'm always prompt.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
That, you talk about main lead, that would be the main lead hall, which will go out Sky now, but the school's there, the hall was there, so they did have a tennis courts out there as well too.
When you say hall, what do you mean?
The public hall.
Oh, okay.
I can remember it there, but it's been gone for a number of years, yeah.
Eddy's plaque was over there.
Well, yeah, I'll show you what. Yeah, well, his plaque was there, and it'd be probably still there if I hadn't have decided to do a bit of maintenance to it, actually.
Is that how you found me, from the visitor's book?
When it was me, so yeah, I got your name and number out of the book there that day, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that was fortuitous. That's good.
It was actually, yeah.
Because you've sent me some real good stuff.
Yeah. I was just reading something about mate.
I love this old stuff.
Yeah, it is good actually. The strange part about this, some of the sites you look on and their official sites, they have him born at Mainlee, but he wasn't born at Mainlee, he was born at Castlemaine.
That was my understanding, yeah.
Castlemaine. He was a teacher at Mainlee. I've just been reading it. That's a report of one of the Boers they came up against when they were at Pink Hill.
Yeah.
I often think when I've read a bit about this, they gave them the opportunity to surrender, but what's it got on there somewhere? Forward Australia, no surrender. You know, they could have been saved.
Yeah, brilliant.
But they didn't want to do that, and the end result was that he, along with a number of others, were killed.
It's nearly a year to the day since I was at Pink Hills.
Oh, okay. Hey, when I was watching a clip of yours, and I watched the film, and they're quite good.
The late Major Eddy. Major Eddy, who was in command of the 1st Victorian contingent to South Africa and who was reported on Saturday to have been killed in an engagement on the 10th, was a cousin of Pastor W.J. Eddy of this city, with whom he was regarded more in the light of a brother than a more distant relative, so close were the terms of intimacy between the soldier and the cleric. Major George Albert Eddy was born at Strathloden in Victoria nearly 39 years ago. His parents were Cornish, and as such was their physique and general bearing that it was said that when they left Cornwall, no finer young couple ever sailed for Australia. The father was a captain in several mines in the old country, and in Victoria also he filled the responsible position of mine manager, while he spent some time in Tasmania, where he was regarded as an authority in mining matters. He was a true specimen of the men who know the reason why. and his son, the subject of this sketch, was in all respect a worthy scion, not merely in a physical sense, but also as regards to all those qualities which combine in excellent fellows. The earlier part of young Eddy's life was spent in the Education Department of Victoria, where he was occupied as a state school teacher at Escourt on the River Murray, and subsequently at Urumbean and other places near Beaufort.
Now that's the frame that I restored of Major Eddy's and the portrait.
Oh, there it is.
Portrait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is gorgeous.
We did Catherine Tweddle, who is the
Rensburg.
Lights aren't very good here. Catherine Tweddle, who applied for the grants. We did apply for one, but weren't successful. The maker's name is down there somewhere, because the firm's still in existence, because the founder of it, can you see, can you?
I can see the engraving, can't read it.
The founder, one of his descendants still operates the firm.
A soldier and a man. Right.
Yeah, otherwise it's probably might have been
You thought about hitting it with brasso, or would that damage it?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. When I took it home, see, the frame, when I initially looked at the frame, I thought there's not much I can do, and I pulled it off, and see these 4 points here, there was a coat screw with a square head on it.
Right.
And these little brass covers have a square cut out at the back, and that's a 3/16 BSW screw. Well, I made up hanging points on my lathe so we could hang it. That is filled, I thought it was enamel, but it's filled with a process which the founder had developed called rosite.
Right. And sorry,
You go.
what are those letters made of?
Rosite. It's been engraved out, then it's filled in with rosite.
So they've got an engraver,
It
and then they've rubbed it in or something.
With that process, yeah. And of course that white
all cracked
residue is brasso, no doubt.
Ah, yeah, right. Okay.
I did, in a little spot there, give it a bit of a rub there, but you'd end up making, I didn't even want to tackle it.
No. And where was it? In the town hall or something?
Originally, I can show you there, where the town hall is now, directly opposite, that's where the original Shire Hall was. So that plaque, that photograph, and there was another photograph, I believe, of Buchanan, Wilson and Kilbeg, who were the other three from Beaufort that went to the Boer War in the first contingent.
Right. Oh, it looks better here.
Oh, much better, yeah.
And that is just magnificent. I love the leather gloves, man. Oh,
He's
wow.
a pretty good looking chap, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good rooster. And that sword, I wonder what happened to his sword.
Good question.
On Antiques Roadshow one time, there was an episode where there was a British officer that lost his sword in South Africa, and the family had it, you know.
Okay. I always find it interesting when the group rode across the bridge and cut the ribbon before Wang did. That sword's still in existence.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
In Sydney?
Well, I'm not sure, but I know it's still in existence.
Well, you mean the Harbour Bridge?
Where the group cut the bridge for the ribbon for the Harbour Bridge group. Yeah.
I love the way this has been cut out and mounted. Wow. Is his lodge still evident?
I was a member of that lodge, Forest Creek Lodge number 157. He would have, where I'll show you where the building is, they founded the Freemasons set up here in about 1890.
Right.
And then they bought a building in 1906 when they moved into that. So the building I'm going to show you, Major Eddy wouldn't have been in that building actually. Prior to that, I'm not quite sure where it was.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, that is quite good. I might get just to shine the visitors look too.
Yeah, well.
Because I seen Elizabeth when I was here Wednesday and said that
I like that too.
Here and,
okay, sure.
showing some.
It It was when stationed at Urumbean that he first displayed that active interest in military affairs that was so characteristic of him afterwards. And it was there that he enlisted in Cadet Corps in the school of which he had charge. About 10 years ago he was transferred from the Education Department to that of the Permanent Defence, and having risen by successive steps to the rank of captain, he took up his quarters in that position in the Victoria Barracks, Melbourne. When in the Education Department he gave evidence of marked intellectual ability and literary talent, and as a soldier his strong personality also led his superior officers to single him out for promotion to positions of trust. About 3 years ago, therefore, he was sent to England to undergo a course of military instruction. He entered the colleges of Sandhurst and Aldershot successfully and passed the necessary examinations with exceptional credit.
Get those photographs,
Yeah.
which is a good idea.
It must have been a big deal when Eddy was killed in this area, I think.
Yeah, when they heard the news, I imagine the Shire flew the flag at half-mast, and anyone that laid in the claim major would have done the same too, actually.
Yeah.
Like, he was a well-regarded person because I've sent you a photograph of that altar cross
Yeah.
up in the Church of Eddy. Well, I was at a funeral there on Thursday. It sits right at the end of the church. Yeah, the altar cross they call it, so.
They tended to be Church of England.
They were Church of England, yeah. What I don't understand when we go up to the cemetery, his mother and father and his sister are all buried in unmarked graves.
Jesus, sad.
Because Major Eddy was still working here. I think his father died in 1886. He would have been still here. I just don't understand why they're in unmarked graves.
And do we know anything about Eddy's wife?
Cecilia, I think it was. She died in 1938. She's buried in the cemetery in Springvale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He had 6 kids. He had a son, Jack Eddy, who was killed, was buried over in Belgium somewhere from the First World War. He was a captain.
I believe that they gave his wife his field glasses or something like that, you know.
Oh, yeah, well, the intriguing part was, as you should be aware, when Queen Victoria heard the news, her private secretary wrote to Mrs. Eddy requesting a photograph.
Right.
Yeah, of Major Eddy. Maps that he got from their official maps from South Africa.
Oh, fantastic.
The interesting one is this one. Well, quite a lot of them. I was pretty lucky to score these, actually.
What did he want you to do with them? Just keep them?
He didn't want them. He said, would you want them? I said, yeah, I'll take them up there. See, in that book that you and I got from John E. Price, he mentions Kaloof Camp. Well, there's Kaloof Camp there, because he said all bodies buried at Kaloof Camp were interned at the local cemetery. Where if you look at Colesberg, it's not that far apart, is it?
No.
But all those 6 maps, if you lay them over, they all sort of join up.
There's Boss's neck. Can we see Hobkirks anywhere?
It'd be around here somewhere, wouldn't it?
Well, I thought we drove out for a while to get there. There was a huge big, it's probably that one, huge big copy where they dragged a gun on top of the British.
Okay.
So which are roads? Is that a road?
Well, I'm guessing, yeah. Hang on. Yeah, alternate route.
I didn't bring
Aerial route, main road is red, so that'd be a road, yeah.
I didn't bring my glasses, but it may even be on that other map. I didn't realise Cleworth Camp was that close to town.
On this map it is. Well, these are official maps, you told me.
Right.
What's you got here? It's got Pink Hill marked on this. What's over there?
Caperfontaine.
Wiltshire.
Oh, there it is. Hobkirks.
That's it there.
So the Wiltshires.
There.
Yeah.
Map probably.
Yeah, that road goes there.
Yeah.
So we must have gone out on that road. That's right.
So Hobkirks Farm, I did make a bit of a blue when I sent you that text there one day. That woman had never heard of Hobkirks Farm, had she?
No, she knew Hobkirks Farm, but she never heard of Eddy.
I never heard of Eddy. Okay.
But she knew Australians were there.
Yeah.
It was the Wiltshires that got us into trouble.
That's right.
They
They
were
went to help them there.
so. I think that would make sense. So that was the Pink Hills.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the map is marked Pink Hill.
And I don't know what that means. Chrobler, February the 10th.
Yeah, Hobkirks Farm. Yeah.
She said the Australians were hiding, so Tony and I walked up to that. There's a little hill behind her farm,
Yep.
where there was flat karoo area.
Yep.
I took offence at Australians hiding, but I didn't say anything. But we looked over that
I find that a
direction.
bit hard to believe. Is that true? Wasn't it? When you read that transcript of that Boer guy, they gave him the opportunity to surrender, and Major Eddy said, Australians on no surrender.
Well, they reckon he had a whole heap of ammunition shells around him, like he was target shooting. Well, that's fascinating, but it doesn't mark where he was killed.
No. Well, when I've written to Canberra a couple of times about this, and they just mentioned Hobkirks Farm, they mentioned Pink Hill.
What she'd never heard of was Rensburg.
Okay, because on that plaque out there, you'll notice that it's got Rensburg on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we went past an old abandoned train siding, which was called
You said
Rensburg.
that, yeah. Hey, is there 3 cemeteries in Colesberg?
We saw 2. Well, yeah, there is 3. So I didn't see the one for civilians, but there's the military one, the British military, and there's a real small Boer cemetery. Some of them were executed for treason.
You told me that half a dozen weeks ago.
Yeah.
That that one where you'll film where the monuments are then, what do you call that thing?
Well, that's the British military cemetery.
Well, I've written to Canberra about that too, because the Commonwealth War Graves Commission look after that, and they contacted South Africa, and they said the same thing that we've always thought, there's no one buried there.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just wondering, is there someone buried there?
Well, there's certainly headstones. No, I think there's individuals buried there, but whether there's a whole heap of bones underneath that big monument, I don't know.
So I'm just wondering, even South Africa couldn't answer that question. So I'm just wondering, are they buried there?
After staying in England 18 months, he returned to Victoria somewhat disappointed that he had not been sent on active service in the Sudan. However, at the first opportunity he volunteered for service in South Africa, and when he was appointed in command of the 1st Contingent, the Melbourne Argus described him as a soldier, every inch of him. And speaking in a literal sense, there was a lot of him, for he stood 6 foot 2 inches high and turned the scale at about 14 stone. But he also possessed the gifts which enabled him to be trusted as a leader of men. Having been connected chiefly in Victoria with the Rangers, his duties took him to all parts of the colony, and while the Defence Department gave him command of the contingent, those in authority knew full well the colony was losing an invaluable officer, but they hoped to welcome him back with added honours.
Is the church used at all?
Presbyterian, well, it's a Presbyterian. I was baptised in that Presbyterian church. It's now a United Church.
Yeah.
The inmates from out of Langley Belfield prison, they come and cut the grass and so forth. Yeah, they're pretty good actually.
Alright. The original police station would have been there and they've knocked it down.
Correct, yeah. They're locally fired bricks. We got a brick kiln a few years ago, so they're local bricks actually. That's the Mechanics Institute.
Yeah, right.
There used to be a library in there. I used to play in the brass band. The brass band had that as their building at one stage there.
What did you play?
Side drum.
Right.
The hospital's got it now. But I'll take you where the Masonic Lodge was. That's been closed for a number of years now. That's like a lot of Freemasonry boomed after the Second World War, but it's in decline.
These are magnificent buildings. This is all Mechanics Hall, is it?
Mechanics Institute, correct, yeah.
Oh. You got
The band play in there about once a month.
Oh.
They'll have carols by candlelight, as I call it, just prior to Christmas as well.
This is gorgeous.
That was the doctor's residence.
Sit on your porch,
Yeah.
have a sundowner. Yeah, right. It's gorgeous.
This was originally Waterspoon's grain store. I believe they bought it off Waterspoon in about 1986. You can see
There's a Mason sign.
it's the compass and square, yeah.
Is this the lodge?
That was the lodge, yeah.
But this is not the one Eddy came to.
No, well, see, this lodge, about 1906, I think they moved into this building.
Right.
Prior to that, they formed the lodge here in 1890, I think it was.
Right.
Waterspoon owned this building, like he owned all those buildings along there at one stage there. And he was a Freemason himself, and he sold it to the members of the lodge, yeah.
It was interesting. I don't know if you saw that episode. When I was in Kidder Lodge, they went into this room and had all these portraits of men that were Masons.
Yep.
From Boers and from British.
Okay.
So there was, a lot of the leaders were Masons, brothers.
Wow. I think you'll find that in a lot of wars, actually.
Right.
To Pastor Eddy, the news of Major Eddy's death comes as a painful shock. When the former came out to the colonies now nearly 16 years ago, he resided for 6 months with the parents of the latter, and there has ever since been the bond of a brother between the two. On June the 7th, 1893, Pastor Eddy married Major Eddy to Miss Wilson, daughter of Major Wilson of Sale, Victoria, a soldier who had himself seen much active service in India. When the SS Medic was off the coast of Madagascar, Pastor Eddy received a letter from the Major in which he spoke in a hopeful strain of his coming campaign and referred briefly to his hope of return, which was not to be fulfilled. He also mentioned the difference which had arisen between himself and Captain, now Major Cameron, on board the Medic, but added that it was then satisfactorily composed, and since there had been no trouble whatever, he stated also that his wife had been upset at this departure, but added, she played the game like a soldier's daughter.
Beaufort Cemetery.
We've got a new person looking after the maintenance here of the grounds is underneath the dog. There's all
Yeah.
graves through there too. That's the general section. There's all graves through there.
Was there gold in Beaufort?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of gold.
That's why the town's here, is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of gold here. There's a turn to your right here. Turn right here, Sean. Well, you probably just leave your car here in the shade anyway.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's really nice idea.
Beautiful old headstones and that real feel of a cemetery. They get vandalised a lot over in South Africa.
Oh, because it's still great as you're going down the hill.
Wow. So just to remind you, we're looking for Major Eddy's parents, who are in unmarked graves. Well, these have collapsed. Still a chance to find a skull, maybe. Oh, up we go. Ah,
Double check. Eddy's parents are in this area here. This is
right.
There we go. We're in about this area here. That's where his parents and his sister are buried.
They weren't paupers, they had money, didn't they?
I don't understand why they're in an unmarked grave.
You can sort of see one maybe. And his mother, do you know when she died?
Yes, I do. I see.
They wouldn't have seen him go off to war.
No,
Because Eddy went to England, didn't he?
he just went over there for 12 months.
He did his military training in England.
Well, Henry Edmonds, he died in 4th of the 12th, 1884.
Who's Edmonds?
That was his father.
Right.
Mary Eddy, that was his mother. She died in 12th of 5th, 1890.
Right.
And his sister, Mary Elizabeth Flowers, she only lived till she was 20. She died in 1886. Born in 1866 and died in 86.
Oh, so they
So they're in around here somewhere. That's where their grave is.
yeah. There's a little flower. Could be feeding on an Eddy. I think they were Cornish, weren't they? He's back.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
There's a Mary Carter.
I don't understand why why they're in unmarked graves.
And you can sort of get the dates from, like, that's a 1900.
There's a few old ones around here, yes.
That's 1882. So the 1880s are sort of this section.
Yeah.
Right. Edmund.
Well, that's yeah.
How did you find this?
Cemetery records.
Right.
On Saturday, Pastor Eddy received a cable from Major J.W. Parnell, Melbourne, stating with reference to the report that Major Eddy had been killed in action, quote, "News not confirmed, but probably correct." End quote. The late officer leaves a widow and 4 children and 2 sisters and a brother who also survive him.
I'll just park in front of the gate, Joe.
Just here.
I'll park in there,
Nice.
swing in there into the shade.
Yeah. Okay.
Now these pine trees, this is pretty well where the school was, I believe.
Right. They normally have big pine trees at schools, don't they?
Yeah. I'll just see that one and tell him we're coming.
Okay, I'll wait here.
Yep.
Cool. So, I think Colin said Main Reef School, primary school, where Major Eddy was the teacher. Big, strapping, 6'2", booming voice. I'm sure the students jumped when he said jump. He would have walked stiff ramrod straight. And he had military training in him, so no nonsense from the boys. But yeah, I think they loved him. He's come all the way from here, all the way. To die in Pink Hills. See that? It says Main Lead Road. Sorry, Main Lead Road. So Colin says this was all mining around here. Yeah. Wow.
He said it's okay to go on his property. So
Okay.
over there, that was the Main Lead Hotel. It was also a butcher and a post office.
Is it a house now, residential?
It's residential. I can never remember it operating as a hotel.
So
Dickens
there, guys.
owned it.
Right.
But so yeah, this where we're going now. My understanding, this is where the mill was where Major Eddy fought.
It's got that schooly feel about it.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're fruit trees.
Could be.
Yeah. Would have been a little one-room schoolhouse for kids that parents were miners or something.
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, look at this. There's some red brick.
Well, that's probably part of the
Chimney.
I'd say so, of the school, yeah.
See that, guys?
Yep.
There's no markings on it.
They could have been local bricks actually, yeah.
Yeah,
possibly. There was a brick kiln operating in Beaufort there.
That's like a fig tree or something. So this is where the hall would have been, the school, right? Fruit trees maybe.
I'm not quite sure this is Allen's actually, so I didn't see that sign actually.
Right. Actually these might be almonds or something. Oops. No, it's some sort of fruit. I reckon they might be fruits too. It's fantastic. And those trees would have been there when the school was here.
Yeah, I was told where the pine trees are, that was pretty well where the school was.
I'm going to go out on a limb again and say maybe crab apples. Right, that's a fruit tree. So they're a fair way out of the main town, aren't they?
Oh, about 3 miles.
Right. But we don't know where he lived.
I think he lived in a Beaufort in Elberstead, I think that's it.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Pretty confident that's probably where the chimney was. And, you know, you're probably looking 10 or 20 students.